Hello, welcome to Sophie & Co. Me, Sophie Shepard-Natze. A massive security breach has revealed the scope of the CIA's alleged surveillance tools, and WikiLeaks is promising to dump even more dirt on the agency. How will these latest leaks affect the already tense relations between the new president and the U.S. intelligence community? Well, a man who spent over 2 decades in the CIA's service, Gary Berntsen, is with me today to discuss all of this.
The feared and mighty CIA has fallen victim to a major leak, with troves of internal documents exposing its alleged tools aimed at spying on ordinary citizens. Phones, TV sets, even cars may not be safe from the CIA's probing, but is the agency actually willing to use its powers? Is the danger overblown by the circus-hungry media, and could rival intelligence bureaus be behind this latest spy scandal?
Gary Berntsen, former top CIA official, welcome to the show. Great to have you with us. Now, Gary, Vault 7, a major batch of CIA docs revealed by WikiLeaks, seems to uncover a vast area of agency's cyber tools. Now, we're talking about the world's most powerful intelligence agencies. How exactly did the CIA lose control of its arsenal of hacking weapons?
Pleasure to be with you today. First off, I'd like to say that, the world has changed a lot in the last several decades, and people are communicating in many different ways, and intelligence services, whether they be American or Russian, are covering those communications, and their coverage of those communications has evolved. Without commenting on the specific validity of those tools, it was clear that the CIA was surely using contractors to be involved in this process, and not just staff officers, and that individuals decided that they had problems with U.S. policy and have leaked these things to WikiLeaks. This is a large problem for the U.S. community, but just as the United States is having problems, the Russians, face serious, similar problems. Just this week, you had multiple members of the FSB charged with hacking as well, and have been charged by the U.S. government. So, both sides in this, both services who are competitors, face challenges as we've entered a new era of mass communications.
So, like you're saying, the leaker or leakers of the CIA docs are presumably a CIA contractor. Could the agency be spending more effort on vetting its own officers? Is the process rigorous enough?
Clearly. Look, there have been individuals since the dawn of history. Espionage is the second oldest occupation. Have conducted spying and espionage operations, and there have been people that have turned against their own side and worked for competitors or worked for those opposing, the country or the group that they were working with. It's been a problem from the beginning. It continues to be a problem, and the United States clearly is going to have to do a much better job vetting those individuals who are given security clearances, without a doubt.
So the CIA studied the flaws in the software of devices like iPhones, Androids, smart TVs, apps like WhatsApp, and that left them exposed to hacking, but didn't care about patching those up. So in essence, the agency chose to leave Americans vulnerable to cyber attacks rather than protect them?
Well, I think that you have to understand, in this world that we're operating, and the number one target of our intelligence community are terrorists. Since we've had, since the attacks of 9/11, 16 years ago, the obsession of the American intelligence community is to identify those planning terrorist attacks, collecting information on them, and being able to defeat them. These individuals are using all these means of communications. I have spoken with many security services around the world, and some of their, since my retirement back in 2005, 2006, and a lot of them have had problems covering the communications of some of these very devices and programs that you've talked about, and whether they be narco traffickers or Salafist jihadists, they are all piggybacking off of commercial communications. Therefore, the need for modern intelligence services to sort of provide coverage of all means of communications. And there is a price that you pay for that.
Now, one of the most disturbing parts of the leaks is the Weeping Angel program, CIA hacking into Samsung smart TVs to record what's going on, even when the TV appears to be turned off. Why are the CIA's tools designed to penetrate devices used in ordinary Western homes?
Look, I wouldn't say it has anything to do with Western homes, because the Central Intelligence Agency doesn't do technical operations against American citizens. It's prohibited by law. If the Central Intelligence does anything in the United States, it does it side by side with the FBI, and it does it according to FISA, the Foreign Intelligence and Surveillance Act laws. It's got to go to a judge to do those things. Those tools are used primarily against individuals and terrorists that are targeting the United States or other foreign entities that we see as a significant threat to U.S. national security, which is, the normal functioning of any intelligence service.
Well, just like you, the CIA also insists it never uses its investigative tools on American citizens inside the United States. But, we're wondering exactly how many terrorist camps in the Middle East have Samsung smart TVs to watch their favorite shows on. Does it seem like the CIA lost its direction
Plenty of them.
a bit?
I've traveled in the Middle East. Samsungs are sold everywhere. Sophie, Samsung televisions are sold all over the world. I've spent a lot of time in the Middle East. I've seen them in Afghanistan. I've seen them everywhere. So any kind of device that you can imagine, people are using everywhere. We're in a global economy now.
So the CIA has also tools to hack iPhones, right? But they make up only around 15% of the world's smartphone market. iPhones are not popular among terrorists, but they are among business and political elites. What do you think? Are they the real target here, the political and business elite?
No. Look, the Central Intelligence Agency, in relative terms to the size of the world, is a small organization. It is an organization that has a couple of, roughly 20 or more thousand people. It's not that large in terms of covering a planet with 7 billion people. We have significant threats to the United States and to the Western world. We live in an age of super terrorism. We live in an age where individuals, small groups of people, can leverage technology at lethal effect. The greatest threats to this planet are not just nuclear, they're bio. And the United States need to have as many tools as possible to defend itself against these threats, as does Russia want to have the similar types of tools to defend itself. You too, the Russian people, have suffered from a number of terrible terrorist acts.
So WikiLeaks also suggested the CIA copied the hacking habits of other nations to create a fake electronic trace. Why, in your opinion, would the CIA need that?
The CIA, as any intelligence service, would look to conduct coverage in the most unobtrusive fashion as possible. It is going to do its operations so that it can collect again and again against terrorist organizations where and whenever it can, because sometimes threats are not just static, they're continuous.
So, you know this better. Enlighten me. Did the CIA have the authorization to create the surveillance tools it had in the first place? Who gives it such authorization?
Well, the CIA is created in 1947 by the National Security Act of the United States, and it does two different things. It does FI collection, foreign intelligence collection, and it does CA, covert action. Its rules for collection of intelligence are enshrined in the law that created it, the CIA Act, PL 110 of 1949. But the covert action part of this, where it does active measures, where it gets involved in things, all of those are covered by law. A presidential finding has to be written. It has to be presented to the president. The president signs off on these things. Those things are then briefed to members of Congress, both the House Permanent Subcommittee for Intelligence and the Senate Select Committee for Intelligence. We have a very rigorous process of review of the activities of our intelligence communities in the United States.
But
prior to 1975, it was looser,
right,
and there were people that complained.
But you're talking about the activities in terms of operations. I'm just asking, does CIA need any authorization or permission to create the tools it has in its arsenal, or it can just go ahead.
What I'm saying is those tools and the creation of collection tools fall under the same laws that allowed the CIA to be established.
Gotcha.
And that was, the 1949 Intelligence Act.
So also, Gary, the CIA...
And subsequent, laws in 1975. Yes.
So the CIA program names are quite colorful. I mean, sometimes wacky. Weeping Angel, Swamp Monkey, Brittle Kangaroo. Is there a point to this? Is there any logic, or are they just completely random? I always wondered.
There's absolutely no point to that, and it's random.
Okay, so how do you come up with those names? Like who? Like one says monkey, another one says kangaroo, and then you go...
I'm sure they're computer generated.
Okay.
I'm sure they're computer generated.
So, Gary, hold your thoughts there. We're going to take a short break right now, and when we're back, we'll continue talking with Gary Berntsen, former top CIA operative, to talk about the position the agency finds itself in with the Trump team in the White House. Stay tuned.
It's not what it looks like.
You were gonna eat him without me, weren't you?
Now the biting makes sense.
Psst, Scott's home early.
Join the TV advertising revolution. Search Gorillascope.
You can't make it to dinner, and dinner makes it to you.
You forgot the Parmesan.
When's your Dolmio day?
Currys PC World bring you the latest innovation in laundry from AEG. Their world-first soft water technology is designed to help keep your colors vibrant, wash after wash, and help your little black dress stay looking good as new. AEG helps you care for the clothes you love from only $4.99, with a 5-year guarantee on selected models. And thanks to our free next-day delivery and installation, the care starts tomorrow. At Currys PC World, we start with you.
Cats will do anything for the great taste of Dreamies. Crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside.
What are you doing?
Hey, check this out.
Dreamies, the treats cats crave.
Let's talk about shirts. Proper shirts. From Charles Tyrwhitt. Let's talk about the details. Our fabrics. That perfect German street fit. Every time. And now our best-selling 100% cotton non-iron shirts are reduced from £60 to $22.95 when you order at ctshirts.com/TV. Charles Tyrwhitt. For proper shirts.
And we're back with Gary Berntsen, decorated CIA veteran, talking about the Bureau's political challenges in its fight against terrorism. Gary, welcome back to the show. Now, so I want to talk a bit about what's going on with the new president. Trump accused Obama of wiretapping him during the campaign. Could the CIA have actually spied on the president? I mean, it seems like the agency doesn't have the best relationship with Donald Trump. How far can they go?
Well, let me just say this. First off, the president used the word wiretapping, but I think it was very clear to any of us that have been in the intelligence business that this was a synonym for surveillance because, you know, most people are on cell phones. People aren't using landlines anymore, so there's no wiretapping, okay? These all fall under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. As I stated earlier, this thing exists in the United States. It was clear to President Trump and to those in his campaign after they were elected, and they did a review back, that the Obama administration sought FISA authorization to do surveillance of the Trump campaign in July and then October. They were denied in July. They were given approval in October. And in October, they did some types of surveillance of the Trump campaign. This is why the president, of course, tweeted that he had been wiretapped. Of course, wiretapping being a synonym for there had been surveillance against his campaign, which was never heard of in U.S. political history that I can remember, or that I can recall in any way of this being done. So this is it's an outrage, and at the same time, congressional hearings are going to be held, and they're going to go and review all of these things. And we're going to find out exactly what happened and what was done. It's unclear right now, but all we do know, and it has been broken in the media, that there were two efforts. The second one, authorization was given. Now, that would never have been done by the Central Intelligence Agency because they don't do that sort of coverage in the United States. That would either be the FBI or the NSA with legal authorities. And those authorities, the problem that the Trump administration had is they believed that the information from these things were distributed incorrectly. Anytime an American is on, and this is according to U.S. law, anytime an American is on a wire in the United States, their names have got to be minimized from this. And it clearly wasn't done, and the Trump administration was put in a bad light because of this.
So if what you're saying is true, how does that fall under foreign intelligence? Isn't it more of an FBI, NSA expertise?
It was an FBI, NSA. It was clearly the FBI or the NSA that would have been involved. It would never have been the CIA doing that. They don't listen to telephones in the United States. They read the product of other agencies that would provide those things. But clearly, there were individuals on those phone calls that they believed were foreign and were targeting those with potential communications with the Trump campaign. Now, let's be clear here. Clapper, General Clapper, the DNI for President Obama, stated before he left office that there was no, I repeat, no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. This has been something that has been dragged out again and again and again by the media. This is a continuing drumbeat of the mainstream left-wing media in the United States to paint the president in the poorest light and to attempt to discredit Donald Trump.
With the intelligence agencies bringing down Trump's advisors like Michael Flynn, and you said the people behind that were Obama's loyalists, can we talk about the intelligence agencies being too independent from the White House, playing their own politics?
Well, I think part of the problem that we've seen during the handover of power from President Obama to President Trump was that there were a number of holdovers that went from political appointee to career status that had been placed inside the national security apparatus and certain parts of the intelligence organizations. It is clear that that President Trump and his team are determined to sort of remove those people to make sure that there is continuity of purpose and that people aren't leaking information that would be seen, that would put the administration in a negative light. That's the goal of the administration, to, conduct itself consistent with the goals of securing the country from terrorism and and other potential threats, whether they be counter-narcotic or intelligence agencies trying to breach our the information that we hold secure.
So here's a bit of conspiracy theory. Could it be that domestic surveillance agencies like the NSA or the FBI actually orchestrated the Vault 7 leak to damage CIA, stop it from infringing on their turf?
I really don't think so, and that is conspiracy thinking. You have to understand something, that in the intelligence communities in the United States, whether it be the CIA and the FBI, we have done a lot of cross-fertilization. When I was in a senior position in CIA's Counterterrorism Center, I had a deputy that was an FBI officer. An office down in FBI headquarters down in Washington had an FBI lead with a CIA deputy. There's a lot more cooperation than one would think. There are individuals that do assignments in each other's organizations to help foster levels of cooperation. I had members of NSA on my staff when I was at CIA, members of diplomatic security, members of alcohol, tobacco, and firearm, and it was run sort of like a task force. So there's a lot more cooperation than the media presents. They always think that there are these huge, major battles between the organizations, and that's rarely true.
But generally speaking, is there a rivalry between American intelligence agencies at all? A competition for resources, maybe?
Well, I think that, sometimes between the Bureau and the CIA is the dominant agency abroad, and the FBI is the dominant agency in the United States. What they do abroad, they frequently have to get cleared by us. What we do domestically, we have to get cleared by them. And sometimes there is some friction. But usually we're able to work this out. It makes for great news, CIA fighting, FBI. But the reality is there's a lot more cooperation than confrontation. We are all in the business of trying to secure the American homeland and American interests globally.
So I'm still thinking a lot about the whole point of having this hacking arsenal for the CIA, since you talk on their behalf. The possibility to hack phones, computers, TVs, cars. If the actual terror attacks on U.S. soil, like San Bernardino, Orlando, are still missed?
Look, there are hundreds of individuals, if not thousands, planning efforts against the United States at any one time. There can be many, many things. And the United States security services, whether it's the CIA, the FBI, NSA, block many, many of these things, but it is impossible to stop them all. Remember, this is an open society here in America with 320 million people here. We try to foster open economic system. We allow more immigration to America than all countries in the world combined. This is a great political experiment here, but it's also very difficult to police. And there are times that that the U.S. security services are going to fail. It's inevitable. We just have to try to do the best we can, the best job that we can, while protecting the values that attract so many people to the United States.
The former CIA director John Brennan is saying Trump's attempt to temporarily ban travel from some Muslim-majority states is not going to help fight terrorism in any significant way. And the countries where terrorists have previously come from, like Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan, it's true, aren't on the list. So does he maybe have a point?
John Brennan is acting more as a political operative than a former director of CIA. The countries that Mr. Trump had banned initially, or at least had put a partial and sort of a delay, were states like Somalia, Libya, the Sudan, Iran, places where we couldn't trust local vetting. Remember something, when someone immigrates to the United States, we have what's called an immigration packet, and they have to get a chest x-ray to make sure they don't bring any diseases with them. They have to have background check on any place they've ever lived, and in most of these places, there are no security forces to do background checks on people that came from Damascus, because, parts of Damascus are totally destroyed. There's been warfare. It's actually a very reasonable thing for President Trump to ask for a delay in these areas. Look, the Crown Prince, the Deputy Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, was just in the United States and met with Donald Trump, and he said he didn't believe that this was a ban on Muslims. This was not a ban on Muslims. It was an effort to slow down and to create more opportunity to vet those individuals coming from states where there is a preponderance of terrorist organizations operating. A reasonable step by President Trump, something he promised during the campaign, something he's fulfilling. But again, I repeat, America allows more immigration into the United States than all countries combined, so we really don't need to be lectured on who we let in and who we and who we don't let in.
But I still wonder if the Crown Prince would have said they would have had the same comment had Saudi Arabia been on that ban list. Anyways, Michael Hayden, ex-CIA and NSA
the Saudis have
chief...
security service. Wait a second. Wait a minute, Sophie. Wait a minute. The Saudis have a reasonable form to police their society, and they provide accurate police checks for us. If they didn't have accurate police checks, we would have given a delay to them as well.
Okay, I got your point. Now, Michael Hayden, ex-CIA and NSA chief, pointed out that the U.S. intelligence enlists agents in the Muslim world with the promise of eventual immigration to America. Is Trump's travel ban order going to hurt American intelligence gathering efforts in the Middle East?
No, the question here was, there were individuals that worked as translators for us in Afghanistan and Iraq. And as serving in such roles as translators, they were promised the ability to immigrate to the United States. Unfortunately, some of them were blocked in the first ban that was put down because individuals who wrote that didn't consider that. That has been considered in the rewrite that the Trump administration had submitted, which is now being attacked by a judge in Hawaii. And so it was taken into consideration. But the objective here was to help those that helped U.S. forces on the ground, especially those that were translators in ground combat operations where they risk their lives alongside American soldiers.
Now, Gary, you worked in Afghanistan. You were close to capturing bin Laden back in 2001. What kind of spying tools are actually used on the ground by the CIA to catch terrorists?
Well, look, the CIA, as does any intelligence service in the world, is a human business. It's a business where we work with local security forces to strengthen their police and intelligence forces. We attempt to leverage them. We have our own people on the ground that speak the language. We're trying to help build infrastructure there. There's no secret sauce here. There is no super technology that changes a country's ability to conduct intelligence collections or operations. In Afghanistan, the greatest thing that the United States has, it has brought support and assistance to Afghan men and women across the countries. We liberated half the population that were women. We're providing education. And when people see what we're doing, trying to build schools, provide USAID projects, all of these things, this makes the population willing to work with and support the United States. And frequently, members of the insurgent groups will see this, and sometimes they do actually cross the lines and cooperate with us. So it's, a full range of American political power, whether it's hard or soft, that is the strength of the American intelligence services, because people actually believe in the world, correctly so, that America is generally a force, more than generally, a force for good in the world.
Gary, thank you so much for this interesting interview and insight into the world of the CIA. We've been talking to Gary Berntsen, former top CIA officer, a veteran of the agency, talking about politics of American intelligence in the Trump era. That's it for this edition of Sophie & Co. I'll see you next time.